Hi, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite study corner. I am so excited to help you master the TOEFL reading section today. We are going to break down a read and email task together. These questions are fantastic because they reflect real-life situations you will face in an English-speaking university or workplace. By the end of this lesson, you will feel much more confident in identifying the main purpose and finding those tricky details. Let's jump right in and look at our email. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe to my TOEFL for more daily tips and practice. Let's keep building your skills, one step at a time. alex.vance@univ-web.com. Let's look at the first line, which says alex.vance@univ-web.com. As a skilled reader, the first thing I do is check the recipient. We can see this email is sent to an individual, likely a student or researcher named Alex Vance. Identifying the recipient is important because it tells us who is responsible for following the instructions in the message. In this case, we know that the rules and appointment details are specifically for Mr. Vance. library.archives@central-uni.edu. Next, we see library.archives@central-uni.edu. This "from" line is a huge clue. It tells us the email is coming from an official university department. Because it is from the library archives, we can expect the content to be professional and authoritative. It prepares us to read about things like research, books, or visiting policies. Always check the sender to understand the context and the authority behind the message. Confirmation of your archive access request. The subject line says, "Confirmation of your archive access request." Think of the subject as a mini summary. Before I even read the first sentence, I already know the main idea. The words confirmation and access request tell me that Alex asked for permission to see something, and the library is saying yes. This helps me predict that the email will contain dates, times, and rules for his visit. Dear Mr. Vance. The email starts with Dear Mr. Vance. This formal greeting confirms a professional relationship between the library staff and the researcher. In TOEFL reading, noticing the greeting helps you identify the tone of the email. Here, the tone is respectful and businesslike, which is very common in academic settings. We are pleased to confirm your appointment to access the historical collection regarding the Industrial Revolution. We start with a very clear opening sentence. The writer uses the word confirm to show that the request was successful. The phrase access is the main action here, and we see exactly what Mr. Vance is looking at, the historical collection. This gives us the specific topic of his research, which might be important for a detail question later. Your reservation is scheduled for Wednesday, October 15th, starting at 10 a.m. in the Special Collections Room. Now we get the logistics. The reservation is set for a specific date and time, which is Wednesday, October 15th, starting at 10 a.m. It also tells us the location, the Special Collections Room. When you see specific times and places in an email, pay attention. These are classic details that the test might ask you about. Please remember to bring a valid photo identification card to check in at the front desk. This is a clear requirement. The phrase, valid photo identification card, is a specific item the recipient must have. The verb phrase, check in, explains why he needs it. Whenever you see instructions like, please remember, or must, it indicates a rule or a responsibility that the reader must fulfill. Due to the fragile nature of these 19th century documents, you are permitted to use only pencils or laptops for note-taking. This sentence provides a reason and a rule. The fragile nature of the items explains why the rules are strict. Notice the word only. Mr. Vance is permitted to use specific tools like pencils or laptops. This tells us that pens are likely forbidden to protect the old papers. For the safety of the artifacts, personal bags and water bottles must be stored in the lockers provided near the entrance. Here is another safety rule. The goal is the safety of the artifacts. Items like personal bags and water bottles are not allowed in the room. Instead, they must be stored in the lockers. This is a specific instruction about what to do with personal belongings. Our staff will be available to assist you with the digital scanner if you need to make copies of specific pages. This sentence describes a service. The staff will assist the visitor. The tool available is a digital scanner. This is important because it tells us that copying is possible, but it requires help from the staff. If you need to reschedule, please notify us at least 24 hours in advance to allow other researchers to use the space. This is the policy for changes. If he needs to reschedule, there is a time limit, 24 hours in advance. The reason is to let other researchers use the space. This shows the library is a shared resource with strict scheduling. We look forward to seeing you soon. This is a standard polite closing. The phrase, "seeing you soon," maintains a friendly but professional atmosphere as the message ends. Warm regards. The closing, "warm regards," is professional and friendly. It shows that the relationship is positive and helpful. In the TOEFL reading section, the closing helps you confirm the overall tone of the communication, which here is supportive and professional. Sarah Jenkins. Finally, we see the name Sarah Jenkins. She is the person representing the library archives. Knowing the sender's name helps us understand who is responsible for the information and who the contact person is. If Alex has questions, Sarah is the one he would likely contact. Great job! We have carefully read the entire email and noted the key details. Now, you are perfectly prepared to answer the questions with focus and accuracy. Let's start with our first question to see how well we understood the big picture. What is the main purpose of the email? This question is asking for the main purpose. In other words, why did the library send this email to Mr. Vance? We need to find the overall goal. Let's look at the first sentence of the email, where it says, "Confirm your appointment." This tells us the email is about a specific meeting time for research. A great tip for main purpose questions is to look at the subject line and the first paragraph, as they usually contain the answer. Let's evaluate option A together. To explain the rules of the library's general reading room. This choice says the email is about the general reading room. However, the email specifically mentions the special collections room and a historical collection. While there are rules mentioned, they are not for the general library, but for a specific archive visit. Therefore, this is incorrect. Now, let's take a closer look at option B, to confirm a specific time for viewing historical materials. This option matches our text perfectly. The email is sent to confirm a specific time, which is Wednesday, October 15th, starting at 10 a.m. It is also about viewing historical materials, which the text calls the historical collection. This covers the entire goal of the email, so this is correct. Next, we'll examine option C, to request a list of books the researcher wants to see. This choice suggests the library is asking for a request or a list, but the email says the archive access request was already made and is now being confirmed. The library is not asking for more information. They are giving information about the existing request. This is incorrect. Let's evaluate option D and see how it fits to introduce a new digital scanning service for students. This option mentions a new digital scanning service. While the email does mention a digital scanner, it is just a small detail about what is available during the visit. The whole email isn't written just to announce a new service to students. It's too specific and misses the main point. Thus, this is incorrect. The correct answer to this question is B, since this option alone fully and clearly addresses what the question is asking, highlighting the importance of careful reading. Moving on to the second question, let's look for something we can figure out from the text. What can be inferred about the documents Mr. Vance wants to see? This is an inferred question. That means the answer isn't stated directly, but we can guess it based on the facts. We need to look for clues about the documents. Let's look at sentence 4. It mentions the fragile nature of the 19th century documents. If something is fragile, what does that mean? It means it is easily broken or ruined. This clue will lead us to the right answer. Let's move on to option A. They are written in a language that is difficult to understand. This choice mentions language and it being difficult to understand. However, the email never mentions what language the documents are in or if they are hard to read. It only talks about their physical condition. This is incorrect. Next, we'll examine option B. They could be easily damaged if they are not handled carefully. This option is a perfect inference. The email says the documents have a fragile nature. If they are fragile, they could be easily damaged if the researcher is not careful. This is why they only allow pencils and not pens. This matches our logic, so it is correct. Now let's take a closer look at option C. They are currently being moved to a different university library. This choice says the documents are being moved, but the email says the reservation is in the special collections room at the current library. There is no mention of moving them anywhere else. This is incorrect. Let's evaluate option D and see how it fits. They can only be viewed by people who have a digital scanner. This option suggests a digital scanner is required to view them. However, the email says the scanner is for making copies, not for viewing. He is going there to see the physical documents. This is incorrect. The correct answer is B, because the key expressions in the text directly match this option, while the other choices either provide incomplete information or clearly contradict the passage. Finally, let's look at the third question to find a specific detail. According to the email, what is Mr. Vance required to do? This is a detail question. We need to find something Mr. Vance is required to do. I will scan the text for words like must, remember, or required. In sentence 3, I see, please remember, followed by an instruction. This is a direct requirement from the library staff. Let's find which option matches that specific instruction. Let's take a closer look at option A. Arrive 24 hours before his appointment begins. This choice uses the words 24 hours. However, sentence 7 says he must notify them 24 hours in advance, only if he needs to reschedule. He doesn't have to arrive that early for his actual appointment. This is incorrect. Here's option B. Let's break it down. Provide his own digital scanner to make copies of pages. This says he must provide his own scanner. But sentence 6 says the staff will help him with the digital scanner at the library. He doesn't need to bring one. This is incorrect. Next, we'll examine option C. Present a photo identification card when he arrives. Let's check sentence 3 again. It says to bring a valid photo identification card to check in. This is exactly what the option says. Present is just another way of saying show or bring. This is a perfect match, so this is correct. Let's evaluate option D together. Bring his own pens if he wants to take notes by hand. This choice says to bring pens, but sentence 4 explicitly says he can use only pencils or laptops. In fact, pens would likely be prohibited. This clearly contradicts the text. This is incorrect. Here, the correct option is C, which shows that once we understand the main idea of the text, identifying the correct answer becomes much more straightforward.